What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for having me to discuss the topic of handling remix requests and my top 5 tips in doing so. The first would be what I call the context of the relationship. Like, what are we trying to establish? Is it going to be a swap? Is it going to be a remix that's done for a fee? And what are the timelines in order to deliver the requested remix? Swaps work well. It's very straightforward. I do this remix for you. You either give me an original track and I can put it out on my label, Purveyor Underground, let's say, or I expect a remix from you within a certain time frame. Fee, the number one question in filtering out people who are serious or not is to ask them, what is the budget for the remix? It's a very simple and straightforward question, and you'll find very quickly that those that are able to come up with money to support a remix fee will happily tell you the number, and those who will be caught off guard and expect you to do shit for free will walk away just as quickly as they came in. And timelines are just very straightforward in terms of when do you expect a remix to be delivered. Number 2 is agreeing on the style of what the remix will be. So I've received many requests where some people say they want a particular style, they want a jacking, tech house, techno. It's just very important to establish that. The third tip is get clarity on the delivery of parts. If you know you work in a certain way based on your DAW or just your overall comfortability, there's nothing wrong with requesting to have the parts in a wave, AIFF, 16 or 24-bit. 24-bit is normally the standard, and either to ask them for full stems or a certain part. And to be clear, if you want the parts delivered with EQ and effects or just completely flat, to allow you more flexibility as a remixer. Number 4 is what I call recalls. Back in the day, in the 90s, when they're paying over 10 to 15 grand or even more for some remixes, major labels would say, we'll give you this money, but it's going to be done under the context of us being able to tell you what we want to change and where we need it changed, etc. But when I do remixes, I'm just very frank and say there's going to be no recalls, and I expect 100% of the fee delivered up front. Some people might perceive that as cocky, but it's a very deliberate tactic, meaning that I respect my time and your time. So if we're going to be held to having 50% of the remix fee delivered up front and the other 50% withheld until the remix is delivered in a way, shape, or format that a label or whoever is commissioning the remix wants it in, then, you know, that's the kind of time I don't want to waste. However, if you got that kind of time, you can establish that up front and just say only a minimum of 1 to 2 recalls are allowed. Number 5, this one is important. Have clarity on who will be completing the mastering of the remix. I've done some remixes before where the label has gotten it mastered and no one's come back for my approval in terms of whether I was comfortable with what came out sonically for the remix. And it's a very key point because you need to be every part of the process in defining what becomes your brand sonically in terms of what goes out there. And there's been times where I've learned from that lesson and I just said, listen, I'll get it mastered. I trust this particular engineer for this particular sound, and that's what goes out. And if no one agrees to that, then no remix gets done. I hope you enjoyed the top 5 tips I've had for how to handle and manage remix requests. I think by going through strategically and very clearly what the agreement is and establishing these things up front, both parties will be happy at the end of the day, and it does a lot for your career, in particular as a DJ and producer with respects to handling remixes. Take care, y'all. Peace. Have a good one.